Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syarfil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, in this video I'm going to give an extension of the idea of how our chronic or toxic thoughts affects our feelings, emotions, and also affects our physical body in terms of chronic diseases that we are facing today. Today, the modern world is facing a lot of an explosion of lifestyle diseases like diabetics, high blood pressure, heart, stroke, and so many of other lifestyle diseases, which actually is transposed from a toxic feelings, emotion, and thoughts at a higher level. Because from the level of akal al-kulli, Allah gives us the positive influences. In Islam, we have these positive influences that's coming through to us for us to grab as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as modern human being, we divorce ourselves from this realm of feelings, emotion, and thoughts at a higher level, because this energy which Allah give the nur, for example, that Allah infuses into every one of His creatures, especially Bani Adam, for us to realize our role as a Khalifa on this earth, as a one who realized the grandeur of Allah. If we cut it out, then we have actually at the level of Akal al-Kulli, we have only an atheistic, materialistic thoughts, which is now dominant in the 21st century and dominant in the sciences, the scientists, whether the neurologists or biologists or whatever, they use this Darwinian theory. All right. So when they cut off that, then our whole system within the brain, the neocortex and limbic system, the cerebellum, that is actually feeding, is not receiving this higher vibrations, you can call it, or higher frequencies, or higher connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in Islam, Allah tells us about this connection. Allah bizikrillahi tatminal qulub. When you remember Allah, you have this tatmin al-qulub, your heart will be at rest. So because our heart is not at rest, this is the kalb that is playing the role. So the influences of the kalb is cut off. There is no heart interaction with your brain, your akal. And your akal, you are only using your potential in terms of your conscious and subconscious mind, not your supraconscious, which is linked to al-akal al-kulli. So when you cut it off, you have all the manifestation of diseases that we see in this world today. So the manifestation of diseases, first at the level of the psychology. So the psyche of the modern man, when they cut off God out of their system, becomes a person with no meaning and no purpose in life. And as a result of that, they have no values. And when they have no values, they just could not understand why they exist on this earth. And that's why there's very high rate of suicidal tendencies, a lot of psychological problems in terms of anxiety, depression, based on very, very mundane issues, which people of the past could have taken it as part and parcel of a ongoing process of life on this earth. I mean, those who are practitioners of religion, whether they are Muslims, whether they are Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, they have this idea of resilience. And Islam has the highest level, because we know that we cannot cut ourselves out from God or Allah. We must have that link, because He is our creator. And that link gives us the basis of peace, happiness, and success at the spiritual level, then at the heart level, then at the mind level. So when we have that, then our physical body, in terms of the manifestation of the chronic diseases, we understand now. For example, if our brain is always in the state of fight or flight, that means from the neocortex, it is already stressed out, feeding into the limbic system, the fight or flight mode. And the cerebellum accept that as a constant issue. So anxiety and depression gets bigger and bigger. So you are generating cortisol, you are generating adrenaline and all the other chemicals that is now manifested to your physical body. So from here, all these effects, these negative effects, will go to your whole body. So you this physical guy here, all right, will have all these chronic diseases. So we have this whole cycle of death by, for example, lifestyle diseases like, say, diabetics or high blood pressure or stroke and so on. So this manifestation of the constant flow of cortisol and all the 200 over chemicals make this physical body, this is the jasad, all right, the physical body, this jasad within the Islamic theology, become sick. So if we say somebody is sick, he is sick because he has not understood the whole realm of his existence at the spiritual, emotional, mental and physical level. That's why we know from these sciences that we have what we call the placebo effect. What you think becomes you. So if you think negatively, you become a negative person, then you get stressed out. All right? So you think you're going to, for example, die in a car accident. Each time you go into the car, you think of the accident. And then you'll be stressed out. And finally, you will die of the car accident because then you are over stressed to such an extent that you cannot even focus. So that is a problem of anxiety. And depression is also the similar mechanism. So the whole stream of neurotransmitters and the whole stream of all hormones that you are getting, feeding into the physical body, make you sick. All right? So the placebo effect is thoughts become a reality. So if somebody, for example, they have done a lot of experiment, if you are given a sugar pill and you say this pill is going to cure you out of your diabetics, they found out that actually the blood sugar level goes down. Or this pill is going to help you cure cancer. There are instances. This placebo is just a sugar pill, nothing else. But they say this is the best drug for cancer, the latest research and so on. And this guy believed. You believe because of the thoughts. The thought process then generate the necessary internal resources that you have. All the hormonal that is destructive, you also can create positive chemical hormonal system within your body to counteract that cancer, and then you can be healed. So this is what we call the placebo effect, and the placebo effect is very powerful. All right, and there is also another effect called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is the opposite. If somebody going to tell you that you're going to die of cancer, even though you have just only stage 1 of cancer, you start worrying, you start thinking you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die of cancer. Say the nocebo effect. So both starts where? At the level of your thoughts. But in Islam, we have at the level, at the higher level. That means we have the resources to go back to Allah. So through our zikrillah, as mentioned just now, in the remembrance of Allah, the heart is at peace. So you have this scalp as your center, loci of control, that can feed to this physical body. Your neocortex, limbic system, and cerebellum, and all your whole brain system, the positive hormones. Because when you are at peace, you are at rest, you are in coherence. In my previous video, you understand the coherence and the spiritual coherence, qalb coherence, roh coherence, qalb coherence, akal coherence, and then physical coherence. All those are generating various waves from the heart variability rate, from the alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma waves, which now we can measure all those things. When your heart is at rest, we can measure, we can see this physical manifestation. And we also can measure your blood component of the hormones. For example, whether there's high level of serotonin, whether there's high level of dopamine. When you are in this positive mode, when your tatma'inal qulub, your link with Allah is such that you're at rest, you are in coherence, and they take your blood sample. Wow, it is good. So there you can have this whole healing process of all your diseases. All right, so Muslims has a way forward in terms of what we call the understanding of this integrated self, where we can align ourselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, use His gift of the qalb to heal ourselves from all diseases, whether it is a physical diseases, whether it is a mental diseases, whether it's a spiritual diseases, whether it's a physical disease. Because your physical body, this physical body is the lowest level of frequency. This physical body is nothing. The master controller is your qalb. Your qalb can actually push your body through the science of epigenetics, and also now they have neuroimmunology. They are studying all this, how your thinking, your neuro affects your immune system, the whole immune system, and how it affects positively or negatively, whether you become a person who is chronically sick and die maybe at 40, 50 years old, or a person who is calm, the heart is calm, and you're living in coherence, and then cancer start coming. Cancer cells, you have cancer cells all the time in your body, all the time you have cancer cells. So maybe some cancer cells start manifesting in your body, but because of your carb control, it can, through epigenetics and neuroimmunology, can actually switch off that cancer cell and make it ineffective. So in the sense, the cancer cells just die off, so you don't get cancer, and inshallah you live to a ripe old age, which Allah has ordained upon as your surgeon on this earth. So we know now that if you can then use your qalb to make it tatmin al-qulub, the qulub that is remembering Allah, bizikrillah, you use that, create the coherence at your spiritual, ruh, qalb, mental, and then use all the faculties that Allah has given at akal al-kulli to influence your akal al-juzi, which is your conscious and subconscious mind, which actually represents the whole brain system in terms of the neocortex, the limbic system, the cerebellum, and all the other organs within a subsystem within the brain, that you become positive. All right, you add the positive thoughts, feelings, and emotion at this level. At the higher level is feelings, emotion, and thoughts from the grace of Allah. At the lower level it is thoughts, feelings, and emotion. At this level, then change your physical body from disease to health, from cancer to no cancer, from diabetics to no diabetics, from a negative lifestyle to a positive lifestyle, from stress to no stress, from anxiety to no anxiety, from depression to no depression, and the whole spectrum of human suffering, in terms of diseases, in terms of the mental state, in terms of the emotional state, in terms of the spiritual state. So long as you reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you reject God, you are lost. And this is manifested in your DNA, your genes. Because not only we have the physical gene within our body, where all our cells have our genetic material, we have at the spiritual level, at the cup level, we have what I call the spiritual DNA. We have this spiritual DNA that is a master switch. The cup is a master switch. So you reject your switch, then you have nowhere to hang on to. All right, so modern men who reject Allah or reject God has nowhere to hand to, so they have no hope. We have hope, and we know that from the grace of Allah, when we remember Him, He gives us the coherence at the heart, at the spiritual level, at the mental level, and this coherence then affects our thinking, our knowledge, our intuition, our thoughts, our doing, our feelings, our action, our being, our wisdom, our inner self, our destiny, our memorized self, our mastering, especially this memorized self here now, from negative, it moves to positive. And when we do that, then inshallah we will then be able to do two things. One, if you already currently have mental or psychological problems, you can heal using this knowledge by remembering how we can do the tafakkur, tazakkur, and muhasabah, and make sure that we have the coherence at the qalb level, at the ruh level, and the akal level. And if you have physical diseases, is also that. For example, you are already having cancer, stage 4. You can have hope in Allah. And there's many cases where, alhamdulillah, with just the recitation of the Quran, many people are being healed of cancer, stage 4 cancer. How is it done? Because your physical body receiving the signal from the rim of the akal al-kulli, start changing your akal al-juzi to become positive, start manufacturing all the hormones and the neurotransmitters and the chemicals that is required to fight cancer. Because you have, for example, you have killer cells. Your killer cells is built within you. You have this NK or anti-killer cells that is part of your system. So these killer cells will then become strong to overcome the cancer that you have, and inshallah with the will of Allah, even at stage 4, stage 3, stage 1, whatever is your stage of cancer, you can overcome it if you sincerely understand this, that your reliance on Allah, tawakkal on Allah, is at the highest level, and He has given you the mechanism for us to understand that at the feelings, emotion and thoughts at a higher level affects our thoughts, feelings and emotion at a lower level within the body, and we can then heal ourselves using this effect of positive affinity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and positive thoughts, so that inshallah whatever challenges that we have, that we face today, remember this method in terms of how we can create coherence with our reliance on Allah, that our heart is at rest, and create coherence at all level of our being, whether it is spiritual, emotional, mental or physical self, which is manifested by the chronic diseases that we see today. So hopefully with understanding of this understanding, if you have any diseases, you can start doing this approach and using the Asmaul Husna. For example, you know you have a situation, then you can say, Ya Allah, you can use Asmaul Husna in terms of seeking His forgiveness, Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, Ya Wadud. So you repeat many times, and you can ask Allah is the absolute healer. So Allah, Ya Shafi, Ya Salam, oh Allah, you are the healer, you are the one who gives peace. So you repeat many times until it becomes part of your system that can affect your hormonal system, from chronic diseases to health, from despondency, from anxiety, from depression, from sickness to wellness and optimum health with the grace and mercy of Allah, inshallah.